Most traders quit during the phase that actually builds them. Not because the strategy stops working, not because the market changes. They quit because nothing feels like it's happening anymore. The wins are small, the losses are managed, the excitement is gone. And in that silence, doubt starts whispering that maybe this isn't working after all. If you've ever felt stuck in a place where you're no longer losing, but you're not really winning either, hit the like button right now. Not for the algorithm, because it tells me you've lived through this exact phase and you need to hear what comes next. This is the quiet phase, the part of trading nobody talks about because it doesn't make good content. There are no big wins to screenshot, no dramatic comebacks to celebrate. Just weeks and months of showing up, executing the plan, taking small profits, cutting small losses, and wondering if this numb routine is actually progress or just expensive therapy. Every professional trader has been here. Most quit before they realize what's actually happening during this phase. The market doesn't reward excitement. It rewards the ability to execute the same boring process over and over again without needing it to feel good. But our brains aren't wired for that. Our brains want novelty. They want dopamine hits. They want confirmation that effort equals visible results. And the quiet phase offers none of that. It offers repetition, stability, marginal gains that barely move the account. And in the absence of drama, most traders assume they're doing something wrong. They're not. Something my mentor told me during my own quiet phase stuck with me for years. He said this: plateaus are where mastery is developed. Anyone can improve when things are exciting. Only real traders improve when nothing is happening. At the time, I didn't believe him. I thought I was stagnating. I thought my strategy had stopped working. I thought maybe I'd hit my ceiling, and this was as good as it would get. I was wrong about all of it. The quiet phase is a test, not of your strategy, not of your intelligence, not even of your discipline, though that's part of it. It's a test of whether you can keep showing up when there's no immediate reward for doing so, when the wins are too small to feel satisfying, when the process feels mechanical and boring, when every part of you wants something more, something bigger, something that proves you're actually getting somewhere. Let me give you a quick example. There was a trader I knew named Daniel, 6 months into funded trading, following his rules, managing risk properly, taking setups that met his criteria, and after all that effort, his account was up 0.8% for the month, less than 1%. He told me he felt like a failure. He'd done everything right and had almost nothing to show for it. What he didn't realize was that 0.8% with 0 rule breaks was more valuable than 12% with 3 blown rules. One is scalable, the other is a ticking time bomb. The mind plays tricks during the quiet phase. It convinces us that small wins don't matter. That consistency without excitement means we're not cut out for this. The real traders are out there crushing it while we're grinding for scraps. But that's the ego talking. The ego needs validation. It needs proof. It needs to feel special. And trading in the quiet phase feels the opposite of special. It feels ordinary, forgettable, like anyone could do this. And that's exactly the point. Anyone can do this. But almost nobody will. Because doing something boring and repetitive without immediate gratification is psychologically harder than chasing big moves and feeling like a genius. The quiet phase strips away the fantasy. It removes the hero narrative. It forces you to confront the reality that profitable trading isn't glamorous. It's a job. A boring, repetitive job that pays well if you can tolerate the silence. If you're starting to see your own experience in this, do me a favor, subscribe. This channel isn't about hype trades or flex culture. It's about understanding yourself so you can actually survive long enough to get good. We go deep into the psychology that actually matters. Your brain doesn't just want excitement for fun. It's wired to seek dopamine as a survival mechanism. Big wins flood the system with dopamine. Small wins barely register. So when you transition from the chaotic early phase, where every trade feels like life or death, to the quiet phase, where every trade feels the same, your brain interprets this as a threat. It thinks something is wrong. It pushes you to take action, to do something different, to find that feeling again. This is where traders self-sabotage. They start deviating from the plan, not because the plan stopped working, because the plan stopped feeling good. They take trades outside their criteria. They increase position size to make the wins feel bigger. They hold losers longer hoping for drama. They create chaos because chaos feels like progress. And then they blow the account and blame the strategy. The strategy didn't fail. Their tolerance for boredom failed. Real moment from my community. A trader named Brianna had been stuck at break-even for 4 months. Every week she'd post her stats. Tiny wins, tiny losses, net result basically flat. She started questioning everything. Her strategy, her broker, her ability to ever make this work. Then one week, she didn't post. I reached out. She said she couldn't handle feeling like she was wasting her time anymore. She quit the day before something clicked. The next month, her replacement, trading the same setup she'd been practicing, went up 6%. She'd been 1 week away from the shift. The shift doesn't happen because you suddenly get smarter or learn a secret technique. The shift happens because you've repeated the process so many times that your emotional response to it changes. You stop needing the wins to feel good. You stop fearing the losses. You stop judging yourself based on daily results. And when that emotional static clears, execution becomes automatic. That's what the quiet phase builds, emotional neutrality. But getting there requires something uncomfortable. It requires you to keep trading when it feels pointless, to keep journaling when you're bored of writing the same entries, to keep following the rules when breaking them would at least make you feel something. It requires faith in a process you can't yet see the results of. And faith is hard when you're alone with your thoughts and a stagnant account balance. Here's what happens in the quiet phase that most traders don't recognize. The brain is rewiring. You're building neural pathways for discipline. You're teaching your nervous system that risk is manageable. You're training your emotional system to stay calm under repetition. This doesn't happen in 3 trades. It doesn't happen in 3 weeks. It happens across hundreds of executions that all feel the same, boring, mechanical, unremarkable. And then one day, it's not hard anymore. You don't have to force yourself to follow the rules. You don't have to talk yourself into taking the stop loss. You don't have to fight the urge to overtrade. It just happens naturally, because the quiet phase wasn't stagnation, it was reprogramming. But you only get the benefit if you stay long enough for the program to install. Another trader I'll call Aaron comes to mind. He was in his 2nd year of trading, had gone through the wild swings of the 1st year, lost money, made it back, lost it again, finally found a strategy that worked, then entered the quiet phase. He told me he felt like he was sleepwalking through trading. No excitement, no fear, just execution. He wondered if he'd lost his edge. I told him he'd finally found it. 3 months later, his account was up 19%. He hadn't changed anything. His emotions had just stopped interfering. The quiet phase feels like nothing is happening because nothing dramatic is happening, but underneath, everything is happening. You're building emotional capital. The kind of capital that lets you hold a winner when every instinct says to lock it in. The kind that lets you take the next trade after 3 losses without hesitation. The kind that keeps you flat when there's no setup instead of forcing something just to feel productive. Let me ask you something and actually answer it in the comments if you're comfortable. How long have you been in the quiet phase? Drop your timeline below. 1 month? 6 months? A year? No judgment. I just want you to see you're not alone in this. Most people think trading is about finding the right strategy. It's not. It's about becoming the right person. And becoming the right person requires a transformation that only happens in silence. The loud phases teach you what not to do. The quiet phase teaches you who to become. One is faster, the other is permanent. There's a psychological mechanism at work here that explains why the quiet phase is so brutal. Your brain has something called reward expectation. When you start trading, every trade is novel. Your brain releases dopamine in anticipation of the outcome. Win or lose, you feel something, but over time, your brain adapts. It stops releasing dopamine for the same repeated action. The trades stop feeling significant. The process stops feeling rewarding. And when the reward signal disappears, motivation disappears with it. This is why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation is what gets you started. Discipline is what keeps you going when motivation dies. And motivation always dies in the quiet phase. The traders who survive aren't more motivated. They're more disciplined. They've accepted that trading will feel like nothing most of the time, and they've made peace with that. But making peace with boredom is one of the hardest psychological shifts a human can make. We're not built for it. We're built to seek novelty, variety, stimulation. Trading in the quiet phase offers none of that. It offers sameness, repetition, monotony. And if you can't sit with that, you'll create drama just to feel alive. You'll take bad trades. You'll increase risk. You'll blow rules. Not because you forgot them, Because boredom is more painful than loss. I remember my own quiet phase lasting about 7 months. Every day felt the same. Wake up, review plan, wait for setup, execute if it appears, journal, close platform, repeat. My account grew, but so slowly it felt invisible. I'd gained about 4% in 3 months. I started doubting if I was cut out for this. Everyone else online was posting massive gains. Meanwhile, I was grinding for crumbs. What I didn't understand then was that everyone else was also losing massively between those posts. I was the only one building something sustainable. The comparison trap is deadly during the quiet phase. You see other traders posting wins and assume they're further ahead. You don't see the blown accounts. You don't see the revenge trading. You don't see the months of losses they're not posting. You only see the highlight reel. And you compare that to your boring, consistent, unremarkable process. And you feel like you're failing. You're not. You're just seeing reality while they're posting fantasy. If you've been forcing yourself to trade when there's no setup just to feel productive, comment guilty below. I want you to know this is one of the most common traps in the quiet phase, and recognizing it is the first step to fixing it. Here's the shift that has to happen. You have to stop measuring progress by how you feel and start measuring it by what you do. Did you follow the plan? That's progress. Did you take your stop without hesitation? That's progress. Did you avoid a trade that didn't meet criteria even though you were bored? That's progress. None of that feels like progress, but it is. And the traders who understand this survive. The ones who don't, quit. A trader named Sophia reached out to me 6 months into her quiet phase. She said she felt like she was going insane. Trading felt robotic. She wasn't losing, but she wasn't winning enough to feel like it mattered. She asked if this was normal. I told her it was the most normal thing in trading. She stayed. 4 months later, she told me something had shifted. She didn't know when or how, but suddenly, trading felt easy. Her account was up 14% that quarter. She hadn't changed her strategy. She'd just outlasted her own impatience. The quiet phase doesn't break you. It refines you. It removes everything that doesn't serve the process. The ego, the need for validation, the addiction to excitement, the fear of missing out. All of it gets stripped away until all that's left is the execution, and execution is all that matters. Everything else is noise. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Not everyone makes it through the quiet phase. Most don't, because sitting in discomfort without a clear timeline for when it ends is psychologically unbearable for most people. They need to know when it gets better. They need a finish line. And the quiet phase doesn't offer one. It just keeps going until it doesn't. And the uncertainty of that is enough to make most people quit. The traders who make it through aren't special. They're just stubborn. They're just willing to sit in the discomfort longer than their brain wants them to. They're just okay with not knowing when the shift will happen. They trust the process even when the process feels like it's doing nothing. And eventually, the process rewards that trust. Not because the universe is fair, because the brain finally adapts. Think of the quiet phase like physical therapy after an injury. The exercises are boring. The progress is invisible. You do the same movements every day and feel like nothing is changing. But underneath, tissue is healing. Strength is rebuilding. Function is returning. You can't see it happening, but it's happening. And if you quit because it feels like nothing is happening, you never get the benefit of the work you've already put in. Trading is the same. The quiet phase is where your psychological tissue heals, where your emotional strength rebuilds, where your execution function returns. It doesn't feel like growth because growth isn't always loud. Sometimes growth is silent. Sometimes progress is invisible. And the only way to know it's working is to trust it long enough to see the result. What's one rule you know you need to follow but keep breaking? Drop it below. I read every comment and it helps shape future videos. The identity shift required to survive the quiet phase is this. You have to stop being someone who needs trading to be exciting and become someone who trades whether it's exciting or not. You have to stop being someone who measures worth by account growth and become someone who measures worth by process execution. You have to stop being someone who needs external validation and become someone who validates themselves through discipline. That shift doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen because you decide it should. It happens through repetition, through showing up when you don't want to, through following rules when breaking them would feel better, through sitting with boredom when your entire system is screaming for stimulation. The quiet phase forces this shift, and the traders who resist it suffer. The ones who surrender to it transform. This isn't motivational. This is mechanical. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. When you repeat the same action enough times, it becomes automatic. The quiet phase is where you repeat the disciplined action enough times that it stops being a choice and starts being your default. But the repetition required is higher than most people are willing to endure, because it feels like nothing for so long. You're not cursed. You're not broken. You're not missing some secret everyone else has. You're in the phase that builds real traders. And it's supposed to feel like this. Boring. Repetitive. Unremarkable. If it felt exciting, you'd still be in the chaos phase. If it felt easy, you wouldn't be growing. The discomfort is the signal that transformation is happening. But you won't feel the transformation until after it's complete. You'll look back 6 months from now and realize you're not the same trader you were. You'll notice you don't hesitate anymore. You don't second guess. You don't need the trades to feel a certain way. You just execute. And when that happens, you'll realize the quiet phase wasn't wasted time. It was the only time that actually mattered. There's no shortcut through this. There's only the decision to stay or leave. Most people leave. The ones who stay aren't special. They're just stubborn enough to see it through. And on the other side of that stubbornness is a version of trading that actually works, not because the market changed, because you did.